Colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, around 15 years ago, the world changed irreversibly from being mostly rural to being mostly urban. Urbanization is occurring rapidly, and by 2050, 2/3 of the world's population will live in cities. This means that between now and then, the urban population will increase by 2.5 billion people as the space occupied by cities will roughly double. To date, urbanization has produced mixed results. On one hand, countries that have urbanized have become wealthier, with cities now accounting for around 80% of the global economy. This is because cities bring together the factors of production, including human capital labor, innovation, and entrepreneurship and capital stocks, and are connected to domestic and international markets. On the other hand, many rapidly urbanizing countries, while increasing their wealth, have increased social inequality. These inequalities are at the root of internal conflicts and instability. It is also worth noting that cities currently generate 70% of the world's waste and 75% of carbon emissions. Without cities reversing this trend, the risk faced by people and the planet will increase. The recent COVID-19 pandemic has exposed deeply rooted challenges of inequality in cities that have made the urban poor particularly vulnerable. Simultaneously, it has also highlighted the potential of cities in demonstrating extraordinary solidarity and ingenuity in adapting to new ways of working and functioning. And so, we see a duality. Rapid and uncontrolled urbanization poses an enormous risk on the future of our planet, its people, and global peace, but sustainable urbanization represents an enormous opportunity to be seized right now. Through effective planning and management, cities have transformative potential to drive shared prosperity, social inclusion and equality, protect biodiversity, and reduce the consumption of natural resources and carbon emissions, as I will explain. In 2015, the 193 member states of the United Nations committed themselves to the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. This is a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. It comprises 17 Sustainable Development Goals with 169 targets. The 11th goal, an urban SDG, makes cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Recognizes the importance placed on cities to drive sustainable development. It calls for access to affordable housing and basic services, affordable sustainable transport systems, and green public spaces for all, to upgrade slums and protect the culture and natural heritage, ensure greater disaster resilience and adaptation to climate change, and to improve air quality and waste management. It also calls on the design and implementation of inclusive policies and participatory city management. Beyond SDG 11, 65% of the 169 targets across 17 goals have urban dimensions. They include reducing poverty and improving nutrition, access to health, education, and basic services through fair budgeting, financing, and social protection systems, ending discrimination, violence, and exploitation against women and girls, and improving women's access to economic opportunities, promoting economic development through increasing clean energy, industrial development, job creation and entrepreneurship, ensuring peace and security by ending violence, promoting the rule of law, and ensuring transparent, accountable institutions, and protecting our planet by reducing waste and carbon emissions and conserving biodiversity. The SDGs are therefore highly relevant to cities and their inhabitants, but also achieving SDGs in cities is critically important to the global achievement of SDGs, since cities host an ever-growing majority of world's population, have a considerable environmental footprint, and also impact their surrounding rural populations. The need to make the world's cities sustainable is thus at the core of achieving sustainable development and achieving a better quality of life for all. Conversely, not getting cities sustainable as the global urban footprint doubles in the next 30 years is a sure way to accelerate climate change, increases social inequality and vulnerability, and multiply conflict. It is often been said that the battle for sustainable development will be won or lost in cities. We have just under 10 years to do this, since we have already embarked on the decade of action to achieve the SDGs. And so, we ask, how can cities drive development? So in 2016, United Nations member states unanimously adopted the new urban agenda, a global footprint for sustainable urban development, which articulates the means through which urbanization can be harnessed to deliver the Sustainable Development Goals. It outlines the core drivers of sustainable development as follows. National urban policy and related policies, such as housing and land policies, which guide how urbanization can drive the achievement of national development priorities. Effective urban planning and design that can distribute urban growth across small and intermediate cities, enhancing both urban and rural economies, and that optimizes density, connectivity, and public space allocation to make our cities resilient, climate responsive, and able to thrive economically, socially, and environmentally. Multi-level governance frameworks which clearly sets out the responsibilities and required capacities of urban institutions and service providers at national, subnational, city, and neighborhoods levels, ensuring full inclusion, accountability, and effective service delivery, empowered by effective legislation and revenue systems. So, what are cities doing? I have seen worldwide, through our World Urban Forums, visits to United Nations member states, and my direct engagement with city networks and mayors, how seriously many cities are in adopting this call to action to drive the achievement of SDGs. I have seen how cities have demonstrated their resilience, engaged their populations in identifying challenges and priorities for action, and how they are taking bold moves to reduce climate impacts and reduce inequality and vulnerability. We are also experiencing the growing leadership of cities in finding innovative solutions to those challenges. Cities want their effort to be acknowledged and have recently started to report to the United Nations General Assembly through voluntary local reviews. And while cities make a stand for sustainable development, we need to be there, ready to support in their ambitious endeavors. This is why I have established in UN Habitat a new flagship initiative called SDG Cities. This is not a project, but a global collaborative effort of UN, civil society, and private sector partners to advance the achievement of sustainable development to impact over 1,000 cities and 1 billion lives before 2030, with a focus on low and middle income countries. SDG Cities helps cities to connect the dots between data collection and analysis and inclusive strategic planning. In line with this, it aims to build local capacities and strengthen planning, governance, and revenue systems to drive implementation. It helps translate plans into tangible projects that generate a major impact on the SDGs and brings together a broad range of finance partners to enlarge impact. By engaging all communities and stakeholders in this joined-up process, cities will achieve positive impacts for their population. But not only this, we need to work at scale to make difference at a global level on key issues of climate change, overcoming vulnerability and inequality, and sustaining peace. For this, we are systemizing our tools and processes and making use of our digitalization to engage over 1,000 cities in the next 10 years. UN Habitat cannot do this alone. We need the support of the UN member states. We need to leverage the UN system through its system-wide strategy for sustainable urban development. We need city networks to adopt and implement SDG cities amongst their members, when we also need the finance sector to invest in urban impact initiative. In this regards, it has been so encouraging to see more and more leading funds furthering their commitments to achieving SDGs. We want to be the interlocutor that helps put cities on track for sustainable development, supported by an ecosystem of willing partners. This decade of action is a truly exciting moment when we will see, through our tireless efforts and those of our partners, how truly the battle for sustainable development, the battle to achieve the SDGs, will be won, not lost, in cities. Thank you.